It's a good ball played in for Tony Morley. Oh, he missed it! It is! Peekaboo! Villa in the lead!
Hello, Aston Villa fans, and welcome to the Villa Forever podcast. I am your host, Chad Williams. Please subscribe and make sure to give this video the thumbs up. Help me to the road to 2K. And I'm joined by my Monday show regular, Aaron Thornton, who's the host of the Football Brief. This is the Avfc weekly recap. First one in quite a while, due to the amount of fixtures. Avfc weekly recap, your weekly dose of Aston Villa news and headlines. Aston Villa were embarrassing at Wembley. Aston Villa's trophy drought goes on, and with 4 games remaining in the Premier League, Aston Villa need to regroup quickly. It's great to have the show. Aaron, back on the show again.
Thank you, mate. It's great to be back. It's always a pleasure to be on here. Unfortunately, it's I'm just sad it can't be in happier circumstances. But you know, it's always good to be on. So thank you for having me, mate. It's good to see you.
And once again, Oliver Glasner gets the better of Unai Emery. I know it's not, I think the 4th or 5th time now that this has happened.
5th time, mate. Yeah, 5th time. I mean, firstly, I think it's only fair to start off by saying congratulations to Crystal Palace because, I mean, you were there. I was watching it on TV from afar, but they were great. They're excellent, and like you just said, then once again, Glasner has got the better of Emery, and yeah, 5 times now, which is it's a bit concerning, really, because I think somebody like Emery, who we hold in this high regard when it comes to tactical masterclasses and being fairly astute, you'd think, you know, you'd be sort of, you'd be ready this time around, but clearly not. I think there was a number of mistakes. Look, we're not coaches ourselves, we're not experts, but I think there was a couple of glaring omissions from that squad that we were all a bit surprised by, and I think Emery got it wrong. If I'm being honest, I think Emery got it wrong. And
Emery, I know since he's come in, not many times I've said it, but tactically he got it wrong. On team selection, that was questionable. That was. For starters, why was Mings not playing?
Yeah. That was the biggest one for me. I think, especially as he didn't play against Man City, so it was almost like we thought he was going to be rested, so he would play in the FA Cup semi-final. Sorry, that wasn't to be. And I think against the Palace side, especially against Mateta, who, you know, we all said before the game, physically he's a presence, and it was proved right. I mean, not just Mateta. I think Sarr. I think Wharton.
I mean, what a goal, boy!
I mean, hats off.
There's an absolute no chance.
I think, yeah. I mean, that goal was absolutely world class, wasn't it? And I just think, you know, physically we were just dominated, especially at that back line. And look, Mings might not be the answer to we might still have lost the game, but you would think he would put it more of a challenge physically against those players.
There's no leaders out there.
But they just stank the place out, mate. If I'm being honest, I was watching it thinking, okay, we're going to try and get some momentum now. And like you just said then, that first goal was an absolute beauty, and you can't stop those. But again, there was mistakes from our players leading up to that chance. And then you think after the penalty miss, right, now you got to kick into gear now, boys. It's time to start playing. And we just didn't. And I was sort of waiting for this. I was waiting for us to get playing, and we just didn't. And it was, I mean, I was fortunate I could sort of turn away from it with it being on the TV. But I mean, you were there, and it must have been a tough watch being in the stadium, mate.
Well, it's even the atmosphere. I mean, a few times have said this. The atmosphere sort of felt strange. But look, don't get me wrong, the Villa fans that were all City were singing. I thought that the Crystal Palace fans were sort of more up for it.
I was going to ask you this. That was my question to you, Chad. Was I equally heard that from other fans that the atmosphere was just a bit weird. Like what was weird about it? Like with the Palace fans just louder? Were they a bit more
Yeah,
up
also
for it?
for the Crystal Palace fans, they seem to like, yeah, they're sort of being more in full voice. I thought that they brought their, I don't know, drums with them, and you could just feel it in the stadium, I think, the energy.
That's a shame. That is. You'd think, being a big semi-final. I just thought, yeah. I mean, I think Palace that whole day, Palace just seemed to be. They just seemed to have that edge in every sort of aspect,
Yeah.
and they just seemed to really want it. And I don't know. We just look really nervy, and
Yeah.
there's a couple of players, to be honest, mate, that I thought.
Yeah.
I don't know why they were in the starting lineup. I thought they
Well,
looked tired.
and also, Morgan Rogers,
Yeah.
what was he doing on the wing again? He should be playing the number 10 role.
I don't know. I really don't know. And this is going to be. I might be on my own here thinking this.
Yeah.
I've thought this for the last few weeks now that Rodgers probably shouldn't be starting games. I think he needed or needs at least 2-3 games where he starts on the bench, not because he's a bad player, just to rest him because he physically looks tired. Like he's one of the players like Tielemans who's playing a lot of games, and I think Rodgers is great at a lot of things, but actually we have enough depth in that squad to be able, not to start him. And I think Emery, I know Emery likes him, but it's like he's almost putting too much on him, and I think it's sort of backfired slightly because, like you just said, then he then naturally drifts into the middle, so we don't have a right winger. Leon Bailey came on, and that was what we wanted to see from the right wing. But Rodgers,
like Leon Bailey and Jacob Ramsey were the only players that were sort of that were good.
Yeah, and I thought
played well.
Yeah, I thought Asensio was poor. I think he's been poor for the last few games. And again, I'm not trying to say that. I'm not trying to be fickle because when he's great, he's great. But I just feel like Asensio, Rodgers, a couple of players haven't been playing that well leading up to this game. So it's like, and don't get me wrong, Rodgers has had the odd assist here and there, so he's not been playing awful. But I just thought for this big semi-final, we have a big squad. Let's rotate it. Let's use the depth properly. I just think the rotations have been a bit weird. They've not been used great really by Emery. So
also, they're not singing out players, but I think Paul Torres is very poor.
Yeah,
I thought he was a real liability. I thought.
I totally agree. I thought his passing. I mean, one of the big reasons he's in that team is for his passing ability. His passing was awful. I don't think he. I think he barely passed to anybody like with conviction. The amount of times I saw him sort of hoof the ball up, just hit and hope to nobody. Physically, he was outmatched.
And Kamara, he had a bad game as well. Kamara.
Yeah, I think not like him. Yeah, but him and Tielemans weren't really at it. But again, credit to the Palace midfield. They absolutely just shut down our midfield, and they knew exactly what we wanted to do, like they always do, don't they? But I thought their midfield, Wharton and I forgot the other guy's name in the midfield for them, but I thought they dominated.
In Crystal Palace, they were far better in all departments. It was frustrating with Villa was. I checked the stats. We had 70% possession. I think it was full of shots on target. We couldn't score. And Crystal Palace, no people asked to knock the ball around and catch us on the counter attack.
Yeah. And then they were doing that in the previous games that we lost. So the frustration for me, Chad, is just that I don't know. Like we as fans knew how they were going to set up. We knew what they were going to do.
Yeah.
So if we know that, Emery surely knows that. Yet the game plan just was so muddled. Like I don't quite know what he was planning to do. And you and I have spoken about this previous month about how narrow we play, which is our game, and that's it's great in some circumstances, but we needed width. Like we just
Yeah.
Matty Cash
Well, there
can't.
was no width whatsoever.
Yeah, until Bailey came on, really, which is too late.
Does it? And
Um,
what was that Emery doing as well? So he took off John McGinn and put Ross Barkley on.
yeah,
Well,
I mean, yeah, I mean, and Ross Barkley looked knackered, and he'd only just come on the pitch. I think when you got like Onana, when you're looking, I didn't mind that Onana didn't start. I thought he would
Yeah.
start, but he didn't start. But I wasn't totally surprised. But as the game was going on, and you could see that we were getting physically outmatched,
Yeah.
you would think, okay, this is a game really now for Onana to come on and do something. But again, like you said, he brought on Barkley instead. And part of me thinks, is Emery trying to appease players by rotating them and trying to give everyone minutes rather than looking at the game, which I don't think he would do, but that's how it feels. It's like, oh, well, Barkley didn't really play, so I'm going to give him some minutes now. And I think that was just the wrong approach.
The one is, against Crystal Palace, we've played them a few times. We haven't learnt by our previous mistakes. I was frustrated. It's the same goal scorers. The Teta SI.
I mean, I almost text you and saying, I'm not a betting man, but and I didn't want to be negative, but I was saying, how much you want to bet that Sarr scores today, because he just always seems to pop up and score against us. And again, he's the second goal for them. I mean, Pau Torres just stands off him. He sort of moves out the way and then gives him a nice gap to shoot through. And it's again great goal from them. I'm not taking anything away from Palace.
Well, congratulations to them. They were the better team. Simple as that.
Did you speak to any Palace fans while you were there, like after the game or anything? Did you?
Well, I saw a few Palace fans near us, but didn't speak to any Palace fans though. No.
Okay, we're going to see what their sort of thoughts on it were. Like, do you know what I mean? If they were, I'd be interested to know if they were looking forward to playing us. And I saw your episode.
I spoke to a Crystal Palace fan.
Yeah.
On the previous episode I did. And he was explaining how we beat them and stuff, but I would be interested in the Palace fans.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, I think initial thoughts about it was just, it's embarrassing, a bit pathetic, a bit limp. I thought Rashford was a big blow. When we found out he was injured, I thought that was a big blow.
Yeah. Also, Ollie Watkins, he only got the service. Also, when the ball did come to him, it's not bounced off his feet. He sort of couldn't get a foothold in the game.
Yeah, it's a tough one with Watkins, isn't it? Because a lot of his game, over the years, has been running in the channels, and I think, and fair credit to him and to Emery, I think his game has adapted in recent years. I think he's become a bit more of an all rounder. He has, on occasion, been able to hold the ball up a bit better, but it's not his strength. It's not really his game. So I don't think he was going to start the game. I think Rashford was meant to start, and then obviously with the injury, I think.
Then he went to the boxing. I know what time or something.
Yeah, there's a few of them that went. I mean, I don't know what you think about that. It doesn't really bother me, to be honest. I don't mind them going to the boxing. I don't think there's anything. They've got it. They're human beings. End of the day, like.
I think he was injured, wasn't he, Rashford? Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's got a hamstring injury. Emery said he's out now for a number of weeks. Well,
that was a massive blow. That was a real blow. That was.
I agree, mate. I think I was sort of looking forward to seeing him play. I mean, the dream scenario is having Rashford on the left and Ollie up front. I don't know why he doesn't do that. There's a reason.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't play them together. That's it. Yeah.
I think Rashford offers a bit more, but I think not having him as that pace and that threat was definitely a big blow for us. And
another thing, another player I think should have started.
Who?
Well, two players actually. Onana.
Yeah.
And Ian Matson.
Yeah, good shout. Another one.
You needed to attack the game.
Yeah, I thought Digne was poor. I thought Matson in recent weeks has really. I think he now understands the assignment. I think Emery's I think he's been molded into Emery's way of playing, and in recent weeks he's looked really good. And I it was a shame that he didn't play against Man City, but I sort of expected it, and I thought, well, he's going to be a shoe-in to start in the FA Cup, and then he didn't. And I just again I didn't quite get the rotation. Didn't quite get why.
Fans, but before kickoff, we all saw the team selection. I was thinking, what's going on? I think it's not like a negative team, really.
Yeah, and that seems to be like, you look at PSG away, Man City away, and now Palace, on neutral ground, I guess. Like, we set up in a way that's so defensive, and I do understand it. I do get it. I'm not that stupid. I understand why we get defensive, but clearly it's not really worked, and we have players that can actually take the game to an opponent. Let's just utilize it, especially a semi-final. I mean, Palace were fairly conservative to a point, but they still, I know they sort of got us on the break in many ways, but they were still a bit tenacious in their play, and they tried to play when they had the ball.
We looked scared every time they went forward. We just looked very scared, didn't we?
Yeah, backwards and sideways passes, mate. It was. I feel sorry for you guys and like you there and the fans, because you've gone all this way, and like there really was nothing to shout about other than having a good time with friends and family. There was really nothing to shout about. Not even a goal.
So going into that game as well, for the Villa fans, there was so much expectation. Thing is, it was a real chance of silverware. I think, especially this season, the teams that were left in the competition, obviously, that's Crystal Palace, Man City. But originally, before that, you had the likes of Forest, was in it, Brighton. It's a missed opportunity.
100% agree, Chad. I think the pathway to get to the semi-final was very kind to us. And look, you still got to beat the team that's there. And we had Preston, Cardiff, West Ham, Tottenham. They're all in their own right. They can be the tricky games, but realistically, are they going to be much easier fixtures to get there? Probably not. And then look, no disrespect to Palace, because Palace have beat us, or are beaten in 5 games. We can't even say that we're better than them, because we're not right now. But on paper, you would say that that squad should take on Palace with with a fair bit of conviction, but we didn't. And I think, like you just said, that was such a good opportunity, because when you get to that final, then like anything can happen. It's a different sort of energy, isn't it, around the stadium? But missed opportunity again, and we're becoming we've got to get out of this habit of getting to semi-finals, quarterfinals, and I appreciate it's all experience for our team. We're a new team, and it's the levels that we're getting to. You can't win them all, but we do need to get this mentality shifted sooner.
I don't mind us losing, but we need to show more fight and passion.
The manner that we like.
There's no fight or passion at all.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Chad. I think I think it's the manner of the performance that was was a letdown on the weekend.
One thing I'll say as well. One more thing I'll say, on paper as well, we have a better team than Crystal Palace. That's what's more annoying. But no disrespect to them, they've done well to get to the final. But if you look at the squad that we've got, there's so much quality in that squad.
There really is, mate. And having this big squad, we were very much happy and saying, with all the competitions that we're in, like, we've got some real depth. And it's almost like now the squad's become a bit of a detriment, because it's almost like Emery's trying to be fair and give players minutes. And I don't think he's rotated great. Like, I know Watkins has been out for a while, and that seems to have fired him up, and he scored a couple goals, and Southampton, Newcastle, that seems to have worked for him. But like, I don't know, like, we don't really have a consistent starting 11. The back four's always changing, and I think you want to be successful, you've got to have a level of consistency. Whilst I appreciate balancing the squad, I just think it's sort of affected us a bit, really. So
So I think mentally as well, this defeat's going to be really hard to recover from.
Yeah, I mean, all of them are already been on Instagram and been like, gutted, but we've got 4 more finals now. We're gonna try and get Champions League, and it's a bit like,
We need to win all of them now.
yeah, and yeah, I mean, we'll talk about that later, but I don't know. We'll see. It's still too raw for me, man. Like, I don't really
Well,
know.
we'll move on from that then.
Thanks, mate.
So, do you think? Let's get some positivity. So, do you think we can still qualify for the Champions League with our remaining games?
The short answer, yes, we can. Of course, we can. We're more than capable. However,
Yep.
it's not in our hands really. So we are depending on other teams dropping points. And
Yeah.
I guess either way, if we get into Europe in some form, that's 3
Yeah.
years on the bounce that are in Europe, and I think
That's a great
that,
achievement. I mean,
yeah,
just to get European football, that's great within itself.
and I'm trying to be positive, as you just said then, and I think I saw a tweet or an X, whatever you want to call it, from a guy called Matt Lawton, who is a journalist,
Yeah.
I think, for the Daily Mail. I think he's a Villa fan, but he
Yeah.
he does a lot of Chelsea stuff. He put a really interesting thing up. He said something along the lines of that success isn't linear. You look at
Mhm.
Newcastle's journey. Well, they got into a Carabao Cup final a couple of years ago. They lost it. They're in the Champions League, got knocked out. Yes, they had a season where they were sort of like not in things, but then this season they got to a final and they knew what to do. So, and I sort of agree with that. Like, the success is never going to be straightforward. There's always going to be sort of bumps here and there to get to the
Absolutely.
destination. So, like you just said, I think 3 years on the bounce in Europe is from where we've been is a great
Mhm.
achievement. So I think we can still get it, but it's going to be like you
Yeah.
just said. Then we have to win our games and hope that the results go our way. What about you? What do you
Well,
think?
I think it could come down to the last game of the season. I think at Old Trafford potentially.
Yeah, it's not really a great ground for us, is it?
No,
Over the
even though
years,
what was going to use we still don't get results there, do we?
no. But Man United aren't the Man United of old, are they anymore? So,
Not.
um, I think Fulham and Bournemouth. I do expect 6 points. Bournemouth
Yeah.
away is tricky, but over
Bournemouth's
recent
going
weeks
to be out of all of them. I'll say Bournemouth.
they've tripped up recently. Bournemouth, they're not what they were sort of middle of the season. Tottenham's
Yeah.
always a tricky one because you don't know what Tottenham you're going to get. I mean, they're not great, but then they just seem to turn it up against the Villa. So
Well, with Ange, I hope we do get we beat Tottenham, hopefully. Because I think it looks, to Tottenham, I think they've been poor this season.
the only saving grace we've got with Tottenham is that hopefully, I say hopefully, I don't know how it worked for us, but if they're in the Europa League final or they're sort of like getting that, I don't know where they are, the semi-final final, they might rest players or rotate players for us, depending
Yeah.
on the timing of the game. So that could be in our favour. But yeah,
Well, I'll
no, I
tell you
think
what, as well. I think Europa League's still a good competition. We never Emery. I mean, he hasn't won that competition 4 times. So, in the worst case scenario, if we don't get Champions League football, in the following season, you win the Europa League, you win the Champions League the following season.
that's a good point. Again, Chad, very positive. I do like your positivity. That's a good point. And Emery, like you just said, is the master of Europa League. And you know what? I think any other season it'd be fine. I think because we've had a taste of Champions League, and then we've got to the quarterfinal, we've gone toe to toe with the PSG. You want more, don't you, as a fan? And I think once the dust sort of settles, if we did get Europa League, I think we'd be happy and we'd be up for it. Of course, we would. It's just I think we hit that point of the season where we had so much, like we were in the Champions League, we were in the semi-final of the FA Cup, we were, we just beat Newcastle, so things were looking good, and then it was like it's been a bit of a bad week, hasn't it?
No, we were fighting on all fronts. And now we're only fighting on one front.
Yeah, and now we really need to make sure that we do fight because the Premier League, to be honest, mate, we've been poor. So in terms of the season, and I'm not trying to be negative again. I'm just trying to be honest. I think consistently, I know we had injuries and stuff, which is fair, but we really need to make sure these next 4 games are.
It's important that the fans get right behind the team because
Yeah.
they're going to need them because look at Villa Park against Fulham. They're going to try and get Villa Park rocking again.
Yeah, 2 big home games. The home games are Fulham and Spurs, aren't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, are you planning to go to both or one of them or?
Well, it depends on the Fulham game, but the Tottenham game, definitely the Tottenham game though, yeah.
Oh, good, mate. Well, that's good. That'd be nice.
And also, Emery as well, it's important to him. It's his job now to motivate the players to try and get the job done.
And he will. He will. And again, I don't want to. Emery
Because
in my eyes.
he's a great manager.
Oh, mate, unbelievable. And he's done things. I mean, I've seen Villa in games and competitions that I never thought I'd see them in, and that's down to Emery. So, look, whilst I'm sitting here absolutely gutted
Of course.
after Saturday's performance, and I'm trying to call out this and that, I still fully back and believe in Emery. It's just as a fan, every fan knows it. It's just really gut wrenching when you're on the losing end. So
it's not Wembley, especially.
No, Wembley. I mean, especially I remember the playoff final against Fulham, and I was there, and I mean, I think you were there as well, and we lost 1-0, and it's not like you're going back. Yeah, it's not like you just getting on a train in Birmingham or getting in the car 20 minutes down the road. Like you're in London then, and you've got all the other fans around. Like it's a tough gig when you're on the wrong end. So I do feel for the fans in that respect. But
also, it's an amazing achievement that we got to Champions League quarterfinals, and we gave PSG a scare. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, and again, that's down to Emery's sort of tactics. And look, there are players in that squad that I think the majority get what Emery wants to do. I do think there are a couple that we aren't up to speed with it really, and I think Emery's tried his best to sort of coach them. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of heads are going to go in the summertime, and we're going to recruit and get a couple more in. I think we're close. I do think we're close to that trophy, whatever trophy it is. I think we're close. It's just
who knows? I mean, next season, Premier League title.
Look, Liverpool can do it. Why can't we? They didn't spend big bucks and they did it. No, look,
it's going to take time.
Yeah, I think we'll look back end of this season and think, you know what? For a Villa fan, we've been in dreamland a lot of the season, so we can't really. You've got teams like Man United and Spurs who have had absolute stinkers of a season, and we've got to put it in perspective, really.
Well, these were a great team. We're just not quite at the level of trophies yet, maybe.
Not yet, but like we just said, then it comes with experience. If we get into that position again, hopefully the majority of the players that played are still going to be there, and they're like, right, we lost to Palace last time. We're not going to let that happen again. The mentality is different, so hopefully you're right.
And we thought being in Europe as well. I mean, to get Europe 3 times in the trot. That shows they've already had the taste of it before. There's a team that they win it again. Once you get the taste of it, you want more.
Yeah, and I think you make a good point, Chad, about the experience, because you look at the Conference League last season, and then I thought the way that we juggled the competitions this year with injuries, I thought we handled it fairly well. I mean, I know there was a few games after Champions League we would lose in the league, and we had a bit of a weird spell middle of the season. But I think on the whole, we've balanced the fact that we're still in contention for a Champions League spot in the Premier League. We got to a quarter-final and a semi-final. That to me shows a good balance, a good use of the squad in 3 different competitions. So and that comes from experience in the Conference League. So being positive, I think there's a lot to take from it, and moving forward, it will stand us in good stead.
Doesn't it? I'm not making an excuse, but also with the amount of games we've had, the Champions League mentally and physically, it's going to take its toll on the squad. Look, it does affect the squad.
Yeah. No, definitely. You think about, I mean, you've been there, those Villa Park nights, especially like, the Bayern
Oh,
Munich
yeah.
and like Celtic and Juventus, when the atmosphere is like absolutely electric. And
Mhm.
then you then got to sort of match that. You then go from that atmosphere to another home game against, like, no disrespect, but like a Southampton and Ipswich. It's harder to sort of, keep on that same
It
mentality.
really is. It's that consistency we need.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it's
It'll
like.
come.
But in time, I think it will come.
It will come. I agree,
And
Chad.
also, I made some great memories. The Champions League games I've been to, there's so much I never dreamt of. Like, if you think of, we've come a long way since Steven Gerrard.
Mate, you're spot on. And I said it to you the last time I was on, and like, I thank you wholeheartedly, because I think
Yeah.
with the different people that we've spoken to who
Oh,
represent,
yeah.
the certain clubs in Europe, it's been amazing just speaking to
Mhm.
people, and actually having to research other teams I would never have been bothered to research. It's been good fun. So yeah, you know what, Chad, mate, you're making me feel a lot better about this. So
Yeah.
you're a good you should have
Yeah.
your own therapy, or you should become a
Sure.
counselor, an Aston Villa counselor for fans, mate. I'm already
Thank you.
feeling a lot. Yeah, I'm feeling a lot lighter now. So thanks, mate. Yeah, good job.
Well, we should be I think more the same. Hopefully more of the same for next season.
Yeah, for sure, man. Definitely, definitely.
So I want to talk about another question now. So this is like a big talking point at the moment.
Yeah.
So who do you think should be Aston Villa's main striker next season? Watkins or Rashford?
Ooh. Personally, right. I don't think it'll be Rashford unless
Mhm.
we secure Champions League football. I think
Mhm.
if we secure Champions League football, I do think we'll see Ollie go. I
Yep.
think they'll entertain offers for him, and I
Mhm.
think they will look to try and get Rashford permanently. If we don't get Champions League, I don't think we get Rashford. I still think there's a chance Ollie will go, and then it
Mhm.
leaves us in a bit of a pickle. Who do we get in? I think come summertime, especially if Ollie breaks his record of
Mhm.
Agbonlahor's, I think Ollie Watkins is gone. I don't want him to go. I really rate Ollie
Yep.
Watkins, love him. Don't want him to go, but I think you've mentioned before about PSR and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, I do think I do think this will be Ollie's last season. Is my gut
And with
feeling.
Watkins, he looks frustrated. And he wants to be playing every week, he said to Emery. I can sort of tell Watkins' body language as well.
I'm glad you said that, because I thought the same thing. Like, with him being on the bench, which is fine. Look, players have to come through adversity, and like, I think on the whole, he's handled it quite well. I think he's come out and spoken in interviews. He's been very professional, been mature, he's been honest. I think when he has come on off the bench, he scored a goal. Like, I think he's did everything right. But I think other teams will look at that and think he doesn't look completely happy there now. Um, so I agree. I think his body language. I don't think in any way he looks like he's not trying.
Oh,
He just
yeah.
looks a bit. He just doesn't look the same.
He sort of looks a bit deflated.
Yeah, which is understandable. So I think, so answer your question. That wasn't really an answer, was it? Yeah, I think it depends on scenarios. Like if we get Champions League and stuff. I mean, I would have Rashford, but I would like to play him on the left wing rather than up front, which then leaves us the conundrum of who's the
Mhm.
striker. So I
And
don't
then
know,
also,
mate.
Marcus Rashford, his wages, because he had to take a wage cut.
That's the other thing as well. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Hopefully, Champions League football, and the higher you finish in the table, obviously the more money comes in. Obviously, I do think there's going to be a few more outgoings. Don't forget, we have a lot of young players out on loan who we could then turn into a profit and sell. Um, It's a good. What do you think about that, mate? Again, another good question. You always get me with these good questions. I can never quite answer them because they're
Yeah.
tough. What do you think?
So what do I think of the situation? I think in the summer it's a big decision for Emery. But I do think one of them needs to make work. But obviously, if Watkins does leave, they'll think I would have Rashford. Then obviously you got Asensio as well. That obviously will
Yeah,
come into it as well.
I
But
think
yeah, all plus I mean, they bring something different both for them.
I think Asensio is a bit different because his wage he's nowhere near on the sort of salary that Rashford's on. Oh, also breaking news. Sorry, I think it's been confirmed that Rashford's now out for the rest of the season.
Oh, that's bad news.
That was
Oh,
David Ornstein from the Athletic. Marcus Rashford is expected to miss the rest of the season with a hamstring injury. So,
that's a massive blow. That is.
yeah,
Oh,
there
that's
you
a
go.
shame.
So I think, yeah, we've seen the last of him now. Again, so how weird. Just on the topic,
That's
I
the
think,
left, yeah.
yeah, I know. Yeah, he just popped up. I get some
Yeah.
notifications off the Athletic, and I just saw it. So I think, yeah,
Well,
if we
Man
get
United,
Champions,
I know he's not wanted at Man United, Rashford.
but I know he set his heart. Well, I'm saying this like I know him. I don't. You read reports, don't you? There's a lot of talk that he wants to go to like Barcelona, maybe a PSG. And to be honest with you, he's put himself in the shop window because he's been great for us. So if I do think I don't think Man United will have him, but if a Barcelona or someone comes in, then and we're not in the Champions League, he's probably going to pick one of those teams. But I don't really know. It's hard to gauge where he's at. So
Yeah. It's a difficult one, I think.
I
But
do
it's a
think he
big
probably.
summer in
Go on, sorry.
general
Go
for
on.
Aston Villa. It's
Yeah,
a big summer for Villa.
I do think if Ollie Watkins breaks Gabby's record, it would almost be. I have to stipulate. I don't want Ollie Watkins to go, but I do think it would be sort of the right moment if he was going to go. If he broke the record, then come summertime, an offer comes in. It's like, well, maybe it's the time. He's not getting any younger. Um, so I don't know. I do. I do think.
Watkins, if he does leave, go to Arsenal.
Yeah, he's an Arsenal fan, isn't he? I mean, Arsenal have been linked. I think there was it Chelsea linked? I think yeah. I think ultimately, if he's going to go somewhere, it would be Arsenal. But it depends if Arsenal want him now because they want to challenge for the league. And is Ollie Watkins going to fire them to the league? I don't know. I mean, we back him as Villa fans. We know what he's capable of. But will he go? I don't know.
The
What do you think?
PSR it up, but next season,
Yeah,
do the change in the financial rules?
yeah.
It's going back to FFP next season.
What in the chat? What in like the chat in Europe? In the European competitions,
You're
they're
just in
using PSR.
general, like the Premier League, as they're going to call it Financial Fair Play again, but, not instead of PSR. And
That
apparently, I was reading as well.
yeah.
But obviously, I want to get in the Champions League. I was reading apparently we actually would be worse off. Well, actually,
Really?
if we actually get in the Champions
I
League,
mean, I know our
it's
wage
just going.
structure. That's interesting. That's very interesting. I've not heard that. So it's almost a bit of a catch-22, isn't it? Then I don't know. I,
Yeah,
I
'cause
do I do find it. I was all for the financial regulation and having things vetted, but now it just seems like the big teams are protected, and the teams like us, Newcastle, Forest, who are trying to break into that elite sort of group, are always going to struggle because we're going to have this financial setback, whereas the other teams are a lot more established and can cope with it.
yeah. Because I'm on
Yeah.
City, why don't I get Manchester City? Don't they have their trial still? What's happening with that court hearing?
Well, I was
Still
hearing
gone
it was going to
quiet.
be sort of like springtime, but then it's getting pushed back. I mean, the people I listen to, if you want to know more about it, on Talk Sport, there's Jim White, Simon Jordan, and they have a finance guy come on who's like an ex Man City lawyer, and he's sort of in the know, and I think he was saying it could be like later on in the year now. So I don't. Yeah,
it would be annoying. It would be annoying if I get off with it again.
There's a good chance they will, though. And I mean, football. The money in football, especially in the Premier League, is insanely lucrative. There was always going to be a point where it became almost too much to handle and was going to sort of break the foundations of football. But because there's no sort of laws or regulations, and all these regulations are new, it's hard to just punish teams. So especially when you're like a team like Man City who can afford the best
the nation state.
Yeah, exactly. You're essentially fighting the state who can employ the best sort of lawyers to fight their case for them. I don't know. There's a lot of. I mean, we'll see what happens. But I mean, we didn't Villa already get sort of fined or in trouble with UEFA anyway because of I think.
Yeah, I did see something. Yeah.
I mean, look, I trust our board. I think we've got very financial, competent people in charge. I don't ever worry about PSR. I think last summer was a good example. You know, we sold Douglas Luiz and we thought the world was going to end, and then Diaby goes and Duran goes, but we've been okay. So I don't worry about navigating the space, but it is frustrating. I do. I'm with you on that. When you've got other teams who can compete and seem to bend the rules, it's annoying.
So, is it a good season for Aston Villa despite disappointment in the FA Cup?
It's been an amazing season. Okay, it's been an amazing season. We just touched on it then. To go as far as we did in the Champions League, I don't think any of us imagined that. That's incredible. I think the FA Cup is frustrating, but you know, it's a good run. And then obviously the Premier League, we've not been great in the Premier League, yet we're still in a fairly good position. So yeah, I think we'll look back. I think once the dust settles and I think the season finishes and we look back, we'll be proud of the boys for this season. But there are a few disappointments that have happened, but I think it's about how we use those disappointments and take it forward.
We need to improve. It shows where we need to improve on.
Yeah, look, we're nowhere near the finished article. You know, we're still growing. And actually, we probably got Champions League a season or 2 seasons too early. You know, we all said this. It was like, whoa, okay. So we have to be realistic and you know, put a bit of perspective on it. But you know, when I sort of take off my frustrated hat from the weekend and sit down and think about it, I think it's been a great season. It's been fun. What about yourself?
Well, for me, I think I'll never forget this season. There's a Champions League nights at Villa Park. Like I was saying it like a bit earlier. That PSG game, I think I'll never forget that one. To think that we almost got the equaliser. And we actually did beat PSG, 3-2.
I've not spoken to you about that. You were at that game, weren't you?
Oh yeah, it was incredible.
We beat them, and you know, I mean, when they scored the 2 goals, were you just thinking, oh no?
Yeah, the first one was that, yeah. But then the second half, he really showed true fight. Also, I sort of was disappointed about the FA Cup because in that game, we really showed to fight back. And I remember, I was counting down the goals.
Yeah.
And we were suddenly going 3 more left, 2 more. Do we need 1 more, we're saying, in the crowd?
Yeah, I mean, I think when John McGinn scored that goal, it looked like the crowd just lifted, and it was like, whoa, okay, that looks fun. And I mean, I imagine it was just, I thought we were going to do it. I honestly thought because we had so much time left. I thought, wow, we've literally scored at the right times, and there's still at least 20, 25 minutes to go. And I was like, we're going to do this.
And we're in the Champions League as well. We've been unbeatable. We was unbeatable at the park.
Another great point. Another great point.
Yeah.
Didn't lose a game at home, and yeah, I can see why. As a fan for this season, those memories. Because I'll be honest, Chad, I didn't think until Emery came in, I started to believe, but I didn't think I'd see Villa in the Champions League until I was maybe like a lot older. I didn't think it was going to happen for a while. So to see us in the Champions League and for you to have gone to those games and experienced the atmosphere,
It's something which I'll never forget. It's staying me forever.
exactly, mate. And you've got that now, which is beautiful.
And as a fan, you want to keep making memories. That's what
Yeah,
you want.
yeah. You have that, and then you have, you think about the January transfer window, Asensio, Rashford. It's like, well, like what's going on here? Like we're able to get these big players to the door, and it's like that was another cool moment as a Villa fan. I never ever thought I'd see Rashford or Asensio in a Villa shirt, which is incredible.
Yeah.
So
The
yeah,
only
I
thing
think
we need to improve on, I think, is defensively.
yeah,
In the summer, I think we should sign a new right back and a centre back. We need like a real strong centre back.
yeah, and I think as much as I know you and I both love Tyrone Mings, and we hope that he sort of retires at Villa. But obviously with his injuries and stuff, you can't rely on him for a whole season. It wouldn't be fair. So, like, as much as I'd keep Mings in the fold, I do think we need somebody else centre back who's a big physical presence. Do you know who I like the look of as a right back? Watching Palace on Saturday, they're is it Munoz?
Munoz.
I thought he
Munoz,
looked
yeah.
really good. I was like, I wouldn't mind having him at the Villa. Like he was strong in the tackle, but going forward, he was. You talk about Emery wanting to use wing backs. He looked good.
Okay.
I'll try and poach him.
We need somebody like a centre back, strong physically, a good leader at the back, somebody who's good in the air. And also, we're not going to get something like Van Dijk. We need like a real top class centre back.
Yeah. Van Dijk. Should we
Not
maybe
Van
not?
Dijk, but somebody similar to him.
Yeah, someone who's got that presence, who's just a leader. I think that you said it at the top of the show. The big thing we were missing on Saturday was having a leader at the back. Tyrone Mings is that leader, that vocal presence. Between Konza and Pau Torres, Digne and Cash, no one's really talking. Well, I mean, they probably are, but you can't hear them. Where
A
Mings, you
bit
can
like,
hear him.
how John Terry used to be.
Yeah.
That's what I think you need.
Exactly that, mate.
And we're coming towards the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
I was going to say, talking of Villa Park, the stadium plans look exciting.
Yeah. The North Stand redevelopment. Yeah. Hopefully, it means that I'll be closer to getting my season ticket, as I've been on the waiting list for the last 10 years. It's not been that long, but it feels that long. No, mate. It just shows we're in the right hands. We have owners who are not just willing to put the money in their hands in their pockets for players, but also to really help develop the infrastructure in the actual stadium and
surrounding area. That's it. Improve the surrounding area.
Yeah. I mean, have you seen the designs, how it looks and stuff?
Yeah. Oh,
It
yeah.
looks really smart.
The new North Stand, it looks magnificent.
Yeah, and so the capacity will rise to about 50,000, I believe.
50,000,
And it's quite nice, isn't it? That I know there's all Everton's new stadium, Tottenham have a new stadium, Arsenal, and whilst it's quite nice to have these new stadiums, I think there's something to be said for keeping the original, but just adding to it. And
Well, that's what I said on the video. I heard them say, even though they make it bigger, they don't affect it. They'll still keep it traditional.
Yeah. And Villa Park, we love Villa Park, and it'd be very sad if we ended up just taking it down. So I do really like the design and the
I don't
idea.
want us to move away from Villa Park either.
No. But that's where it's happening with stadiums nowadays. They're either getting completely done or they're increasing capacity because there's more fans and the level of engagement at the highest. So I imagine there'll be more expansion to come over the years as well. It'll start with the North Stand, but I imagine there'll be more and more. So it's good fun.
It's going to be great as well, too. You got Euro 2028 coming up.
Yeah.
So in all the time, you need at least 50,000 for a competition.
Ah, that makes sense. Okay.
For the international tournaments.
Yeah. That makes sense. I've also seen as well, like when I'm watching, videos and stuff of Villa when they're playing at home, when they're like entering, there's a lot more of sort of an
Yep.
atmosphere, and they've got like some structure now where like the players are walking through, and you've got fans like standing on. Have you seen all
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Like,
Yes.
where's is that? Yeah,
Does
it
it-
just
And it
is that
looks
near
more
the entrance?
spacious as well.
Pardon?
It looks more spacious as well.
Yeah. No, it's good, mate. You hear a lot of other fans complain, especially Man United fans, about their stadium and how it's leaking and there's just water getting in and stuff. So it makes you think, at least we've got owners
And
who are
European nights, just imagine the atmosphere would be even more incredible than it is.
yeah, it really will. Yeah.
Well, before we finish, I'm going to get sync up on the screen.
Yeah.
So Friday, we've got a very special event coming up. So yeah,
Oh, wow.
so me and Michael Huggins, who's a community champion, and he works for companies. Both of us are joined forces together to raising money for Acorns Children's Hospice. This week is on Friday. The 2nd of May, 7:30 p.m. start. And I'd like to see you all there. It's going to be a great night. It's got some real good special guests. Guest interviews. We have a DJ. We
Wow.
have a raffle. We've got some good prizes to be won. And I'll just announce the special guests we got. So we've got Frankie Maguire for All Villa No Filler.
Hmm.
We've got Hannah Gowan for the UTV fan channel. And Justin Hawthorne is for the UTV fan channel.
Yeah.
Then we have also Paddy Kelly, who's a co-host on the Paul McGrath podcast. And also, there'll probably be some more surprise guests there. But yet, it's a night you don't want to miss out on. And I'm doing it for a cause which is very close to my heart. In the past, Acorns done a lot for me. And I want to give something back to them. So remember, you can donate £10 online. You get a ticket that way. Or we're charging £10 on the door. And you can get tickets by doing that as well. So hope to see you all there, guys. Yeah.
Oh, mate, that's amazing, and I will. I'll be supporting you from New York, and I'm just so
Thank
sad
you.
that I can't be there myself. But look,
You'll be there in
anyone.
spirit.
Pardon?
You'll be there in spirit and spirit.
I'll be there in spirit. Yeah, of course, man. Birmingham, my spiritual home. Yeah, anyone that's watching, listening, please make sure you go down and check it out, because I mean, that's something I would, if I didn't have a newborn baby, I would be flying
Yep.
back right away.
Certainly
So
done.
mate, again, Chad, you're doing very, very cool and wonderful things on, with this podcast, and also
Well,
just
thanks, mate.
with your with an event like this, and hopefully it's the first of many. And the fact that you've got so many people to come, and you've got special
Yep.
guests, and it's honestly, mate, you do an incredible job. So just keep up the good work. And I've known you for a number of years now, and I know how special and how much Acorns have done for you and friends and stuff along the way. So it's yeah, just
I
incredible
really
achievement.
appreciate it. You've been a great friend.
Well, mate, you've had my back over the years. vice
Even after
versa.
these years, we still keep in touch.
Of course, man, that's what it's about. And look, this is great to do these sort of shows and stuff through Villa, but obviously it's a friendship first, and Villa obviously is both our passion, and I'll always happily jump on and do whatever I can. So just good work, mate.
This was a great episode. Thank you everyone for watching. If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to subscribe. Make sure to smash the likes. Smash the like button on this video. Make sure to give it a share. Make sure to let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Also, if you're listening to this podcast for the audio, you can give us a follow on Spotify, Amazon, and Apple. And if anyone's seen me at the events, I shall say hello to me. I'll have a talk with you. And thank you so much, Aaron, for your time.
Thank you for having me, mate. And hopefully have a great time at the event. And I look forward to seeing all the pictures and the videos.
I'm going to wrap up this episode with Villa Forever and Up the Villa.